Okay, so it's time for the update. It is the very first day of November, so I wanted to do an update on the wicking Mame that I've set up for this year. So, to be honest with you, not super impressed with the results. So here you can see everybody lined up exactly as they were before. This one has been sitting on my bench at home under a dripper all season. It has done quite well. It's got a lot of new buds that are going to be showing up, but I actually never put it onto, I never set it in a wick, or I never really used the wick. I had it on an automatic dripper system all of the time. This is a larch that was also sitting on a little water container, and it was doing exceptionally well. It had a lot of growth. It had a big long shoot that came out of the top, and I decided that I thought that it was getting too wet because the moss growth was quite intense, and I thought that it was too wet. So I took it off of the wick, and we had a very hot and dry summer this year. Long story short, it dried up and died, I'm pretty sure. I'm gonna leave it till spring because it's still quite flexible, but it lost all of its needles back in like August. So pretty sure that sadly we lost the little Mame larch this year. I should have left it on the wick because it was actually doing really well on the wick. This one has been very interesting. It grew these grasses out of the back. I did not plant this. The Cotoneaster, which this is the little plant, maybe put on one or two new leaves, but overall, I did not actually notice any growth of the plant. Maybe I'm lying. This looks like a brand new extension from this year. Maybe I have to look at the picture from before, but I thought this was super cool. I've left the grass to grow. I thought it looked very interesting. Here we can look underneath at the wick, and you see all of the root growth. Wow, holy smokes, that thing is huge. Look at that. Wow. So that's probably from the grass, not so much from the Cotone. I don't know. I have to get that back in there here in a minute. But it did okay. It held this very interesting coloration. You know, normally the Cotone all throughout the year is green until autumn, and then it will start to change. But this had this really reds and oranges the entire season, and I don't know if that has to do with being in the water or what the deal is, but I thought the coloration was cool. The growth was not that great, so yeah, I'm not really sure. I'll probably leave it as it is and run it again this way next year and see if it grows anymore. Next up were these field maples. These also sat on a container for a while, and they just really did not look good. It didn't put out a lot of leaves. The leaves that it didn't look healthy. I think it was too wet. The moss was always moist. The moss grew like crazy, and then it dropped all of its leaves super early. I do have a few buds showing, but I decided again to take this off of the water and just let it sit on the bench and water it by hand like I've been doing, and I don't really know, but I do feel like it got too much water. This one is another little Mame that was not wicked, sat on the bench. He's got new buds, and he's looking okay. The little juniper, also not on a wick, but yeah, put on some new development, and we'll see how he's going to continue. And then finally, the one that I've had for the longest, this is now second, third season, something like this. Can't see from the shot right here, I'll zoom in. But he looked great all season, And then the moss was looking not so good, so I replanted the moss. And whenever I did this, the plant suffered quite a bit. He looked really bad. And I've been having a lot of problems with mildew. So strange, it's been covered, but it has not gotten wet at all, but I have a lot of problems with mildew. On the underside, root health has not been that great. You see they're quite dark. Last year I was getting really white roots. This year they really don't look very good. Almost like a little bit of root rot. I don't have a lot of, in my opinion, healthy looking roots. I also, to be quite honest with you, didn't treat the tree super well. In previous years, I've been feeding it because behind me is a hydroponic table for growing salads and different vegetable leafy greens, and I was feeding it with the hydroponic nutrient. The previous 2 years, or year, whatever it has been now, I can't remember, and it's been doing really well. This year, I fed it mostly with a synthetic fertilizer, NPK fertilizer, and that, I think it didn't have enough of the micronutrients and things like this to actually be healthy. So water and the nutrients or the fertilizer, synthetic fertilizer into the water just didn't really give the plant everything that it needed. At the end of the season, I did start feeding it with hydroponic nutrients, and it seemed to do a little bit better, but then I've been plagued with the mildew problem, and I've been trying to manually get that mildew off by hand by just wiping it off, so hopefully it would build up enough energy. At all of the nodes, I do see buds, especially on the tips. The buds have formed. Where the leaves are, there are no buds showing yet, but I would guess whenever the leaves drops, those will be there. So I assume that it will come back next season. And I think what I'm going to do to change things up is when I removed the moss, I recognize there's quite a lot of surface roots sitting underneath the moss. And so I might start to top feed the plant versus putting it in the water. As far as it being too wet, I don't think that's been a problem because, maybe because the surface area is so large. On a slab type of planting, I think that the wicks probably are going to do a lot better than in a pot because the pots are holding too much moisture. I'm going to create another little concrete slab like this next season and put a couple little tiny trees on there and see what happens. I think having surface roots that are able to get a little bit more air rather than being down in this wet substrate all of the time is going to be a lot more beneficial for the plant. So all in all, are the wicks good? The experiment continues, really. I would say that for a pot, maybe it's going to stay too wet. I think the slabs have a potential for using wicks really well. Just wanted to give a quick update on how things look right now as everything's about to go to sleep. Mixed results. I'm going to keep testing next season and we'll see how it goes. Thanks. Hope you enjoy. Hope you had a good growing season. Peace.